currently looking to get a new home and was thinking of going in wall. Do you all have any recommendations or some solid in-wall speakers?
Yeah, well, you know me, I'm a shill for mono price or monolith, supposedly.
That makes sense.
But you know what? I don't know. I've never tried them. But Ike has them. Ike over here, Easy HT Tech. He's like, he got some of those. What is it? Monolith THX something in walls. He's like, man, these sound amazing. And I haven't even done any of the room correction on them. So that's all I got. Erin, you've done a bunch of in-wall testing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would say Revel, Kef, and Monoprice are probably the ones that I've seen evidence of. They're probably the better ones.
So you've reviewed the ones that
no, I haven't reviewed them myself, but I've seen the data for them. So maybe not the exact same ones that Ike has, but other Monoprice monolith ones. So they look reasonable to me.
Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, I think Kef and Revel are probably the two that I would easily. What's the word I'm looking for here? Like, not have as much trouble recommending. Yeah. Well, you know what I mean. Like, blindly recommend. You know, like some brands, you can say this, and then you find out like they've got another model that's just terrible because they don't. We've talked about this. They don't always scale in the same fashion. Sure. So, but I think their in walls are probably all okay.
Well, also, you've said it before that you prefer a decent in wall to most on walls, because I think that's the question also.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. I would go with in wall before I would go with on wall personally.
Mm-hmm. And that's because
on walls sound bad.
Just in general, that's it.
Because they have a big mid-range dip, like a big mid-range suck out, and you can't do anything about it just because it's proximity effect, right? Like it's the distance off the wall to the back of the wall. So that creates a cancellation, and usually that creates a big null, like in the mid-range. So like anywhere from maybe 200 hertz to 600 hertz, give or take, just depending on the thickness of the speaker.
Does it matter where you're at? Do you have to be like off axis, or it's going to cancel out?
It's going to cancel because it's, you know, that distance isn't big enough to stay larger or smaller, I guess, than the relative distance that you are to the speaker. So it basically stays like, you know, if it's 8 inches thick or if it's 4 inches off the wall, it's not really going to matter if you're 10 feet away. That those few extra inches aren't going to make much of a difference. So it's just going to shift that frequency where that dip comes into play.
Okay. And there's no speaker that can undo that. There's no design tricks.
I've not seen any. I mean, they could. I guess they could just design for a boost in that area if they wanted to.
Because I've seen some of the, you know, the monolith stuff that I've reviewed.
Yeah.
I always keep in mind like what you're saying, right? Like I know there's supposed to be some issue here, but I'm like, it almost measures better when it's on the wall. So I'm like, did you?
Yeah, like
know
if
that
they don't
go there,
if they don't use like baffle step compensation, that could help. But I mean, you're still going to have that dip. It's just that dip is going to be dependent upon like the distance from the front of the speaker to the back of that wall versus that wall and the speaker to you.
Okay.
So it's a path length difference, which you can figure that out. I mean, you could use some math to figure that out, but yeah, I think the worst thing you could do is take a regular bookshelf speaker and put it right on the wall if you don't know that it was designed with that in mind, because some speakers are designed with that in mind. So it's a real, like, it depends. So that's why I say, like, I would probably default back to getting a good in-wall, but I've tested a few in-walls that are terrible. Focal, they've got like a $3,000 one that's not good. It's very resonant, very boomy. B&W was the same way. Martin Logan was the same way. So some designs are just not good. Now, that doesn't mean that all of their other ones are going to be not good.
Bad. But the ones you tried.
But the ones I tried were. And from what I've seen from Revel, because I've tested a number of those, Kef, I've seen the data for the ones that I haven't tested. Those all seem good. So I could confidently recommend those and feel like you're probably going to be okay. But with the others, I don't know.
Is there anything visually similar with the ones that measured good versus bad, or are they all over the place? Like you can't tell.
You have no idea, man. You have no idea. And actually, the ones that have the boxes built into them, ironically, are the ones that seem to do the worst because
the back boxes.
Yeah, because the enclosure's too small,
too shallow.
Yeah. So it creates like a strong, like if you ever built a subwoofer enclosure, you know that if you make the subwoofer enclosure too small, it'll just like have basically like a one note bass wonder, and that's it. So the in-wall speakers are not really different in that regard. It's just that frequency where that bass note is pushed up a little bit higher. So it may be like 100 hertz, versus a crappy subwoofer box that would be at 50 or 40 hertz. So then all you just get is like a and it just resonates.
Ugh.
And you can use EQ to knock it down, but you have to have like really precise EQ. It's just weird. It just seems like it's a handicap design at the beginning.
And you probably pay extra because there's more weight, more wood. So it's interesting.
I think if you're going to build a house, that's probably the best way to do it is go ahead and find a speaker that maybe doesn't have a back box on it. And then maybe build your own just from the perspective of keeping it quiet on the other side of the wall, but make it large, like super large. So basically where like the enclosure size wouldn't affect the performance of the speaker, but just that additional MDF or whatever you're using will stop sound from transmitting through that drywall on the other side of the wall. I think that would help.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
There you go.
All right, everybody. We do the Daily Hi-Fi podcast every Monday, 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So make sure you join up to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/Daily Hi-Fi, and we will see you there for the big show every Monday. Yeah.